Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Earn It podcast. In this episode, I've done the research, I have more news, and we're going to go over what I can only describe as the sheer delusional outrage about the new loan caps on graduate nursing programs. All right, so the reason why I'm making this episode is because article after article keeps coming out. And again, being in nursing school and knowing a lot of other nursing students, from the get-go, I've had the question of, there's two different perspectives regarding the new kind of caps on graduate nursing programs, no longer being considered quote-unquote professional. On one hand, you can say, oh, well, they're going to lower the cost of these programs, otherwise they're going to lose a lot of students. And that's generally a good thing. And the other side of the argument is that this is going to somehow restrict access, okay? There are equity kind of issues. There's all kinds of issues going on. And but the question I always had from the get-go is, well, let me ask this. How many graduate nursing programs in general are currently under the lifetime limit? And that is exactly what I'm going to answer. First, going into this, there was a news article, and there was a chief nursing executive at UPMC that commented on the implications. I'm going to quote here a couple of quotes. One, now this is a chief nursing executive, right? This is somebody with a lot of education, a lot of nursing background, and a lot of leadership pull. And these are the kinds of folks that have a large voice kind of in this whole thing. And these folks aren't thinking clearly. So she said, it means, quote, it means nurses will have a hard time getting a loan, going back to school to get an advanced degree, a master's degree, a doctorate degree. We already have a faculty shortage. This is just going to add to the faculty shortage. It will mean less people getting those degrees and being able to teach. That will impact the pipeline of brand new nurses. So that's the first quote. The value of nursing as a profession. This is the one that kind of makes me cringe. Let me see. There's a few of them. She emphasized the value of nursing as a profession. Quote, I definitely see nursing as a serious profession. I think the amount of skills, talent, and expertise that are required to do what nurses do, it sets us apart. There's a local... They, for some reason, are getting random nurses to kind of express their concern. It's kind of strange. I don't know. They basically, and this is the problem I have with a lot of media, right? You have a main idea of an article that you want to go with, and as a result, you get that information. They clearly handpicked. I don't know how many people they interview. This is youryeary.com. They clearly handpicked people that they wanted to interview to get specific kind of messages out of this, because we've went from faculty down to a local registered nurse, just some random nurse. Quote, there's already a shortage as it is. Why would people want to go into something if they're not going to be known as professional for it? They put a lot of hard work into getting that. Unquote. That is one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard. Again, it's semantics. I said it in the previous podcast that I talked about, but the reason why I'm getting so fired up about this, if you're listening to this, by the way, share this with everybody you can. I want to piss somebody off enough to come onto my podcast and have a back and forth with me about this, because the data is very clear, as I'm going to go over shortly. But again, the whole professional, unprofessional thing is triggering people to where, and by the way, perfectly logical, reasonable people, normally you would think, at least I hope, if you make it through a nursing program of any kind, you have a brain, okay? You can't just make it through nursing program and be a moron. these are smart people. I don't understand what is fooling these people. I can tell you, as a previous cybersecurity person that used to write scripts to send out to get people to click on things they shouldn't click in emails, people are working off their emotional side of their brain here and not using their logic whatsoever. There's another quote. Now check this out. We've gone from the chief nursing person at a faculty. Now we've gone down to a local registered nurse. Now check this out. According to the article, senior nursing student Lindsay Hartle at Penn State, fucking Penn State, voiced her frustration saying, quote, "I think it's just crazy for them to say that because I've worked so hard for the past 4 years and for them to just call it unprofessional, ... unquote. And this is where we really get down to the nitty gritty of what everybody seems to be freaking out about for literally no damn reason at all. Listen, that term was placed a long time ago on some other bill, and that has a criteria for giving people a $200,000 lifetime limit on graduate level education. Okay, let me go over the numbers with you. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, and because I want everybody to be able to hear all of this out. So I went Leland, nurse.org, research.com. Let me keep going. Inside Investigator, The Hill, U.S. Department of Education, University of Arizona College, U.S. News and World Report, American Nurses Association, New York, various articles that were on social media, onlinefnprograms.com, LinkedIn, ShiftMed. I went and did the research and gathered the numbers for you. Let me just break it down for you. Graduate nursing programs under $100,000, approximately, drumroll, 95% of all graduate nursing programs are under $100,000 limit. 95%. This does exclude CRNA programs, which I will get to in a moment. Now, this is the total. When we break things down, public university MSN programs, okay, we have an average total tuition that ranges from $28,000 to $78,000. Okay, online MSN programs from $18,000 to $57,000. Okay, and we have in-state DNP programs, roughly $30,000 per year, allowing students to complete the degree for well under $100,000. Affordable specialty programs, accelerated MSN programs for specific tracks, such as nursing education, right? Nursing education, remember that genius in the first quote? As little as $5,000 to $12,000 total. Okay? Graduate programs over $100,000, 5%. This includes private, average between $111,000 and $171,000. You know those private schools that everyone talks shit about and says, oh my God, those people rip you off. Do you know all of the people that say these private programs rip people off? Guess what? Surprise, surprise. These assholes are over $100,000 a year, which means you should have nothing to do with these people anyway. Again, we're talking about 5% of graduate nursing programs. Elite private MSN programs like Johns Hopkins University, Duke University, $50,000 to $60,000 annually, easily exceeding $100,000 for a multi-year program. Out-of-state doctoral tracks can exceed $130,000. Specialized entry-level MSN programs for non-nurses can cost $200,000. Now we're talking about UC Davis. So if we're talking about MSNs under $100,000, this is 98%. Okay, these are public online universities, MSN programs. Okay, MSN private, even the private MSNs are 70% under $100,000. DNP for public is 85% under $100,000. The private DNP programs are 10%. Only 10% are under the $100,000, with 90% being over $100,000. What does that mean, people? That means that all of these people that are telling you how horrible life is going to be because now we can't get loans are under a delusion and a false impression because they hear the word, they hear that they're no longer included in the professional, and they are saying that the government is now calling the profession unprofessional. No one is doing this. No one is saying this except for the very professionals that are getting offended because of the wording of what's going on. It's not the reality. What's happening in this country and has been happening for a long time, there's another podcast that I have done on this, is that the simple fact is that prices have been rising over the last 20 years, adjusted for inflation, somewhere around 90%, I believe the figure was. So at the very least, I was like, oh, well, maybe all these expensive colleges will lower their price. And now I'm taking that back because here's why. Only 5% are over that amount. Those 5% don't give a shit about your affordability anyways. And they have been taking advantage of you. Maybe these 5% will lower. Some of these private online, like DNP programs especially, they will lower their prices. But if they don't, who gives a shit? I hope they go out of business. You have no business whatsoever charging people for a DNP program or, for God's sake, an MSN program over $100,000. Are you fucking out of your mind? I know this is a graphic podcast, but this should piss you off, not the stupid word that nobody cares about, professional, unprofessional. Nobody's saying you're unprofessional, and nobody's saying nurses is anything less. But let me ask you a question. Is there a difference in what you can do, your capability, your knowledge base, and your paycheck, an MD versus an RN or a DNP? There's a gigantic difference, okay? The reason why is that things like medical schools are a lot more expensive. They make a lot more out of school than we do. If you go and you pay $200,000 for a program and you go get your DNP job and make, I don't know, maybe $30,000 more than you did as an RN in some cases, you're not going to be able to pay off that loan. Like, I'm sorry, but you're not. Even the $100,000 is a little bit of a like, oh my God, really? Now I have to pay this $100,000? Here's another thing. There's a difference between other master's programs and nursing master's programs. What everyone is failing to remember is nursing is generally a well-paying career, okay? These 95% that are under, let me just explain this to you. I'm doing this off the cuff, so if you hear my keyboard go or whatever, bite me, okay? We're going to do some percentages here. Let's just take, so online MSN programs typically from $18,000 to $57,000 for the full degree. So let's just say $45,000. Okay, $45,000 divided by 3 years, that's $15,000 per year. Let me explain this to you, folks. I'm going to divide this by 12 months. That's $1,250 per month. Okay, and now, let me see here. What's the annual income now? Median annual income for a RN with a BSN in the US. Let's find this out. Between $87,000 and $101,000 per year, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I always say my sources, reports a broader salary mean of $93,600 for all registered nurses. That even includes with BSN. Entry level between 61 and 80,000. But average annual between $96,000 and $108,000 per year. You don't need a loan to do these programs in the first place. Now, the ones that are over $100,000, you definitely do. But what you're going to be forced to do is to maybe, if you really just are begging for a $180,000 nursing program, then go ahead, you go for that little 5%. Maybe you'll feel special if you do that. But here's the thing. Again, nurses are unique to the fact that you can afford to supplement this. You are in the position that a lot of other people aren't in the country, by the way. If you want that degree so bad and it's going to be so useful for you, then get your $100,000 from your loan and then supplement the other however many thousand it is. Because guess what? Newsflash, nurse, you can afford to do it. Otherwise, you have no business going back to school in the first place. Because, the problem is that you're angry that somebody else can't front the bill for you too. That's another side of it. You have gone through hell, a nursing program, hell, right? For the most part, hell. Your job is really difficult, really mentally challenging, lots of critical thinking, really kind of fast-paced in a lot of cases, and high stakes. And you're mad because somebody else isn't going to pay your bill for you to begin with to let you pay off later, again, for only 5% of the time. So pass this damn podcast around so people can stop complaining. And if you have a problem, or if somebody you know has a problem, I would love to have you on my podcast and have me and you have a discussion for everyone to hear, and you tell me your grievances after listening to this and the data, and you tell me why you have such a problem with being called unprofessional, even though no one's doing so. Here's where it does matter, and this is why it's important to get things correct. This is the real reason, okay? There are programs for specific nursing tracks that you will have an issue getting loans for. And I do not agree with this as far as the government's concerned. CRNA programs, especially since a lot of them are going doctorate. CRNA programs are almost exclusively public university tracks for in-state programs located in lower cost regions. 30% are under $100,000. So first of all, 30% is a pretty good number, actually. But not really, right? Because the best CRNA school is one that says yes. So you need to try to, when somebody's getting into CRNA school, there are so many reasons why CRNA programs should not be included of this, especially when they make you get a doctorate. Most of these are going to be over $100,000 for you to be a nurse anesthetist, okay? This is why we need to get clarity on this. Everyone needs to get clarity, not so I can get clicks, get views for, get listens on my podcast or subscriptions for telling people to stop whining and, be all clickbaity. The reason why is so that you can know all of these things and everybody can look and say, listen, we really need CRNAs, but we really need these to be a little bit more accessible. So either lower the prices, which by the way is not going to happen for CRNA programs, and nor do I think that it should by a lot, because here's the thing: who's going to teach these CRNA programs, right? CRNAs, right? And these folks are used to making a lot of money, as they should be making a lot of money. This is where the money is kind of going, right? So the annual median salary for CRNA in the U.S. So we had the nursing from 93 to 108, 212,000 to 223,000. Of course, that goes up. Top earners can exceed 350,000 per year. Okay, see the difference here? Now, This is around the same as a primary care provider, MD. And there are arguments to be had that the CRNA program should be included again, at the very least the doctorate ones, because everybody's moving towards everything being doctorate in nursing, as far as nurse practitioner and as far as CRNA anyway. But again, hone down on the real problem. Let's focus all that mental energy on just the CRNA programs, because let me just tell you this. Your MSN in nursing education does not need to be included in this professional status. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Your nurse informatics does not need to be included. Your nurse MSN in leadership does not need to be included in this. Okay? There is no place for that in a $200,000 a year, $200,000 lifetime borrowing limit. That is completely unnecessary. And it is just going to cause a lot more issues down the road as these schools, which are the real problem, by the way, the schools, are going to continue to raise tuition over and over again because you do not give a shit, because it's not your money, right? You are using other money to get your degree, to get what you want. Imagine how much cars would be if there was no credit checks and everybody had like subsidized, guaranteed, like 5% interest loan, and you can get up to $200,000, right? Either everybody be driving around a Porsche or Toyota Camry would be $180,000, okay? It's the same thing that's happening. But again, 95%, okay? If you can't deal with a 5% reduction in the amount of programs, then you've got something else wrong with you. So this has been a little bit more of a unusual podcast episode for me, for those few listeners that listen to me very frequently. But please reach out to somebody that you know that really cares about this and is on the opposition from what I just said. I would love to have them on. Thank you so much for listening to the Earn It podcast. Please go ahead and click that link in the description. That has the link to come on the show. If you want to share this with other people, or go ahead and come on myself. Right now I'm in winter break, so I have plenty of time. I'd love to have you on to discuss things, especially this topic, especially for those that kind of would disagree with this. Because again, I think rallying behind the true issue here, I'm 100% behind, especially for, again, things like CRNA programs. And you know what? There's doctorate programs that we can maybe make an argument for too, because doctorates are just son of a bitch. But I have a problem with online doctorate programs anyway, and that's going to be for another podcast episode in the future. So again, thank you so much. Go ahead and follow, like, subscribe, whatever the heck. Podcast is now on Spotify, now on YouTube, and it is also now on Apple Podcasts, so you can listen to me on Apple and on YouTube. Thanks so much for listening.